Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Connect 2021 and this session on Couchbase Analytics. We are very excited that you could join us today. I'm Idris Motiwala, Principal Product Manager at Couchbase, managing the analytics product and services. We are also joined by Rick Jacobs, the Technical Product Marketing Manager at Couchbase, who will provide a demo on how to get real-time insights from your Couchbase JSON data. Before we get started into the topics, let's talk about what are the different JSON analytics challenges our users and developer community faces. First one, analyzing JSON data in real time without the need of ETL. Users who need a central data warehouse, they find it too rigid as the schema and the access is tightly controlled at the corporate level. Data mart versus data warehouse argument. Traditional data warehouses require schema modifications when JSON source data changes. So unable to quickly derive real-time insights for customer behaviors and processes becomes a challenge. Number two, querying JSON data in relational databases is super cumbersome. Essentially, users who are using RDBMSs for data originating in JSON format need a familiar SQL-like capability to report and analyze JSON data. The other JSON analytics challenge is to isolate operational workload from analytical workloads. What that means is users would like to offload complex data processing and computation requests from underlying data transactional services, which impact operational workloads. So there's need for workload isolation aggregations for large data size that support parallel query processing and bulk data handling. And developers face increased challenges as the data grows in running complex ad hoc queries on query service, performance is impacted, and at times are unable to meet their SLA. So today we're going to talk about how to derive insights from your JSON data. We're going to cover what are the requirements for your analytics platform. We're going to talk about what's Couchbase Analytics Service, the analytics use cases, the new product features, which we release as part of Release 7.0, and a demo by Rick. First one, let's talk about what are the key requirements for an Agile analytics platform. Number one, has to be timely. When we say timely, the operational data is readily available for analytics when created and as current as possible. Number two, has to be flexible. As the schema changes on operational side, it should not impact your analyses. Number three, speedy, has to be performant. Analysis queries run quickly without impacting any operational performance. And last, but not the least, scalable. It has to scale up to speed up to queries and scale up data. So as your data grows, you're able to meet at the same performance without impacting your operational insights. So with these challenges in mind and the requirements, that's what Couchbase Analytics Service does. What we thrive to provide is help businesses measure their operations to derive real-time analytical insights. Operational analytics is a process to use data analysis and BI to improve efficiency and streamline everyday operations in real time. It's a new set of combination of database workload and system demands to achieve competitive advantage for the modern enterprise. With that in mind, what we have done is the ability for developers to create the data which is collected to various operational transactions, various applications. As you can see, transaction applications, application 1, application 2. By enabling analytics service, we create shadow copies of the collections which are located in the data service and which they would like to further analyze. And once these shadow collections get created, any changes in the operational data are reflected in the analytics service in real time. With this continuous data sync between operational nodes and the analytical nodes, right? The analytics service ensures and allows operational analytics queries to have workload isolation. Couchbase Analytics Service also helps users to analyze JSON data in near real time without the need to extract, transform, and load your data into a separate system. Hence, we call it no ETL for no SQL. It allows to develop insight-driven applications easily and quickly. Moreover, it removes the need for ETL and the complexity of managing a separate analytical system. From there on, users can also connect directly to data visualization tools like Tableau, Power BI. They can also perform data mining and machine learning modeling using Jupyter Notebook, as well as integrate Python-based models with Couchbase Analytics to bring data science models closer to where analytics data lives. This Python UDF model feature is currently in preview as part of Couchbase 7.0. Users can also tap into their JSON, comma-separated value files, tab-separated value files, which is located in their data lake, like AWS S3 or Azure Blob Storage. The data which lives there is not moved. It's queried in real time. It's a stateless connection, and it brings you the power of your low-cost storage with high-power compute, which Analytics Service brings. Also, you can tap into your data warehouse. You can take data from Analytics Service or your data service and make it part of your enterprise data warehouse so that you have a complete picture of the entire enterprise as well. The top business value here, we remove the complexity of managing a separate analytical system. Analytics runs on data that is current without the complexity and delays of ETL, and enables exploring and analyzing rich JSON data using Nickel, which is a SQL-like powerful expressive language to derive operational insights. Now let's go and talk about some analytical use cases. So number one, we have seen more customers in the e-commerce space. They're more and more using the JSON insights derived from the data for real-time marketing campaigns and personalized recommendations for ordering food online and the experiences and capturing their behaviors and their attributes in real time. In the finance domain, we're seeing customers doing price computations and risk propensity modeling and analysis on their policies, their claims, and their overnight feeds, which they get from external sources. They combine and aggregate and join heavy performance and computations, which is leveraged by the analytics service. On the healthcare side, a lot of our customers are using, as the data is scaling, they have more and more what-if analysis questions, especially in the given last year about pandemic. Folks want to know how much, what's the impact on the revenue for a surgery being postponed or canceled, or the visits or procedures which you are supposed to be scheduled. And that data is growing so much, and that's how analytics services is enabling, helping the healthcare companies. And on the energy and utility side, the customers here are using multiple natural gas rigs and vessels, which have data about operations about each rig, how much time it's taking for the rigs to extract the energy and resources. And it's consolidated and into a centralized place by analytics service, and the distributed power of querying and parallel processing is enabling them to derive insights in this sector. Let's talk about some of the product features in release 7.0. First one, the support for analytics collection. Couchbase Analytics fully provides support for collections to further streamline analysis and reduce the time to insights. Analytics service now supports what we call analytics UDF, so user-defined functions. This is a boon for the developers, because now developers can create their custom user-defined functions and enable them for reuse, streamline their code, and you can pass parameters to it, and the functions can call themselves. So it's a very powerful feature to help the developer community. We also have enabled roll-up and cube aggregations. Now, these have been there in the RDBMS world for some time now, but it's coming for the very first time in a document database, in a JSON database, and it's supported in Nickel. It's very seamless. What essentially it does is it includes those extra rows. It's an extension of the group by clause, and it provides you the subtotals, the grand totals, based on the dimensions you provided. And the cube generates subtotals for all combinations of the grouping columns. So, and you will see this in action when Rick is going to provide a demo of all of these features. The other features which you have, which are currently in developer preview, the first one is the ability to integrate your Python ML models with analytics service. What essentially this means is it enables the data scientists, the data engineers, and machine learning engineers to use Python and machine learning within Couchbase Analytics. This is currently under preview. It is very, very awesome. I encourage you to try it out and play with it. We also support Azure Blob Storage using our external dataset feature, which we had launched last year. So now we are further expanding our ability to tap into data lake into the Microsoft Azure ecosystem, which helps you to dynamically retrieve, combine, and enrich your data from Azure Blob Storage with existing Couchbase Analytics collections. As our CTO Ravi says, Couchbase focuses on data first and schema next. We strive to provide insights at the speed of transactions based on our powerful MPP architecture. So the key benefits here for real-time operational analytics data does not have to move from operational databases to data warehouse. Transaction data is readily available for analytics. When drilled down from analytic aggregates, always points to the freshest application data, and real-time analytics integrated with a business operation, processing current and historical data. It prescribes actions in response to events that help achieve competitive advantage for the modern enterprise. To see this all in action, I'm going to pass it over to my buddy Rick, who's going to walk you through a demo and all the features and actions.
Hi, my name is Rick Jacobs. First of all, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to attend this session. Let's start by taking a look at the data set that we'll be analyzing today. This is a basic e-commerce data set, and this data diagram describes the orders, products, and reviews that we'll be utilizing. As you can see, the product ID is the link between these different document types. The scenario we'll be working from today is that of a data analyst who's asked to analyze the e-commerce data set and derive useful information focusing on sales. So we'll be creating Couchbase Analytics collections. We'll look at the new Couchbase Analytics rollup function, the new Analytics Cube function, and then we'll be creating external data sets and collections within those data sets to utilize from the Couchbase Analytics platform and search and query disparate data sources. And then we'll also be utilizing the Couchbase Analytics UDF functions, the user-defined functions. So without further ado, let's get to the demo. So I've taken the liberty of importing the e-commerce data, but if we had to import that data, we would go to the Documents tab, select Import, and then we would select the file that we want to import, the file type, the key space information, the bucket, scope, and collection information, and then we'd assign a UUID, whether that be from a value within the data set or a computed UUID. As I said before, I've taken the liberty of importing the data already. So let's take a look at what we have here. So we've got the e-commerce data set with the shopping scope, and we've got several collections already created. I've also taken the liberty of creating a S3 link. So I link to data on S3. You have to provide the path, the file format, and the location. And I've created several orders. Several collections on that remote data set, remote link. So now let's look at the data that we have within our cluster. First thing I like to do is check the amount of records. So there's a simple query to check the count of the records in the orders data set. We've got almost 1 million records, so that's quite a bit of data. Now let's run some queries to try to get some sales information from these data sets. The first query is going to give us the countries with the leading sales totals. All right. And a new feature we have in Couchbase 7.2 is we can chart the results of our queries. So I'm going to do a simple bar chart for this. And I'm going to select the country and then the sales. As you can see, the US is the leading country, followed by Great Britain and Canada. There are a few things I'd like to draw your attention to in this query. First, we're using the let keyword for assigning variables. To me, that makes the syntax a lot more readable. I'm also summing the subtotals in the line items array using an array sum function. And then I'm calculating the totals and ranking them using a rank function here on line 10. I'm sorry, line 9. All right, what else would we like to know about this data set? How about we look at sales per quarter? For that, I'm using a roll-up function here, which allows me to aggregate the subtotals for each quarter. And then I'm going to chart that with a pie chart. We're going to do quarter and then the sales per quarter. The yellow portion is the total sales. And then you can see each quarter the sales are fairly consistent. Sticking with the sales theme, let's look at the running sales for each month. So it's going to be a cumulative total of the running sales monthly. This data set I'm going to visualize using a regular XY chart. We're going to do month and then running sales. So because this is a cumulative total, we can see that we have a nice linear line with the sales increasing monthly again because it's cumulative. How about we look at the sales for the top countries? Here, I'm looking at sales for the countries of Canada, Great Britain, and Mexico, which are the leading countries after the US in terms of sales. For this, I'm going to also do a XY chart. But I'm going to add a color legend. So here we can see that more clearly the results for each country based on the different colors. In this query, we're using a lag window function here on line 12. That function allows us to sum the total based on the country and the month. Now let's look at how products compare for two different countries. So we're comparing the US and Canada to see what the top products are. And for this, I'm just going to use a simple table. The top product in Canada is bacon. Top product in the US is also bacon. In this query, I'm using a coalesce function, which is really an if statement. So what this says is if the country is blank, then fill that in with all countries. And I'm also using an aggregation function here on line 5 to aggregate the country and the product name. All right, let's start looking at some of the data in S3. So I created a S3 product reviews collection previously, and we're going to utilize that to look at some review information. So this query gives us the top products and then the average rating for those products. We can sort by average rating, highest to lowest. So the top rated product is our laptops. Again, this is linking the S3 products data with our local cluster data. And we're providing that link based on the product ID. So we're linking data stored in S3 with data stored locally, which is kind of a big deal. All right, let's take a look at the top customers and then the sales for those top customers. Here again, we're using the product reviews collections from S3. And then we're linking based on the user ID here on lines 12 and 13. This query is actually a good candidate for our new user-defined functions feature. We could actually separate this into a function and then use that function in the select statement. So I'm going to do that quickly. Here I'm creating the function, preferred customers. And then I'm going to utilize that function in a select statement. And these results, I'm just going to chart with a bar chart to make it more vivid and visual. All right, we can see Alberta and Nicole O'Keefe are some of our leading customers. Okay, so I'd like to reiterate that we were able to query data stored within S3 linked back to the data in our local cluster in real time. So we're combining two disparate data sources and querying those data sources again in real time. In this demo, I've used the Couchbase charting features, but keep in mind that we can also connect to Power BI, to BI tools like Power BI and Tableau for more enhanced reporting capabilities. And now for my final query. Thanks for attending. We'd also like to invite you to view some of our additional sessions. We've got some additional Couchbase Analytics sessions coming up. My favorite is probably the Python UDFs feature, which allows us to link to Python UDFs from within Couchbase and do some modeling. We've also got some additional sessions on performance, things that you might want to know from a database guy, and advanced analytics.